Okay, we verified that we have sound through the computer, so we are going to go ahead and get started here. Thank you guys for joining us. This is the special briefing for Hurricane Florence. This is Laura Belanger from the Weather Service here in Atlanta, and we'll go ahead and get started here. So as of the 11 a.m. update, which all of this information today that's being shown to you is from the Hurricane Center's official update at 11 a.m. this morning, there was no significant change to the previous forecast track. We will put the caveat in there that right now there still continues to be low confidence with the track and potential hazards with this storm. That's mainly due to the wide range of forecast model solutions that are out there. And we're seeing a lot of run-to-run variability, even with each individual forecast model. Now, because of these changes in the forecast over the last 12 to 24 hours, our concern for hazards to impact to Georgia are starting to increase. So that's our immediate concern right now. And as far as long-term concerns, we now potentially could be seeing a long duration event through the weekend into next week where prolonged periods of rainfall could produce some flash flooding over the state. So you'll notice on the track map, Florence is expected to continue to aim for North Carolina as a Category 4 storm, sort of graze the Carolina coast, potentially make landfall in South Carolina, maybe as a Category 2 or 3 hurricane, and then quickly weaken as it moves into the inland South Carolina area and eventually settling very close to the northeast Georgia mountains. Now, as far as the threat levels for the state, right now we've put our wind threat in that second tier category. That would be a low to moderate risk as we get up into that orange category. Now, because we're inland, we don't have a surge threat, but we're getting a little bit more confidence that our rainfall and flooding threat is getting to be a little bit higher. So you can see there it is nosing into that red category there. And as far as tornadoes go, since we sort of stay on the western side of the center of the storm, we tend to be in a low risk area for tornadoes. But as we move into the weekend, we start seeing the center of that system move into Georgia. That could be a concern into early next week. And so you see there that tornadoes is just nosing into that yellow category. Again, our forecast confidence is on the lower side of things, and that's mainly due to that variability between the forecast model solutions. Now, this is the satellite loop from just about 45 minutes ago or so. Again, Hurricane Florence is a Category 4 storm. Maximum winds right now are about 130 miles an hour, and it's moving northwest at about 15 miles an hour. And again, it's still kind of aiming towards that North Carolina coast. Forecast models are still showing it's going to go right up to the coastline, put the brakes on, and then sort of just skirt that North Carolina coast before eventually settling over the South Carolina area. Now, right now, according to the Hurricane Center's tropical storm force wind probabilities, you can see that the colors that start moving into the eastern Georgia area, we're seeing the yellow, the darker yellow color. That translates to a 30 to 50% probability of tropical storm force winds. And when we're talking tropical storm force winds, we're talking 39 mile per hour or higher. And again, that's mainly going to be in eastern Georgia. Now, as far as timing goes, we could see these winds begin to increase as early as late tomorrow, late on Thursday. And just remember that as we get these soils to be saturated with this heavy rainfall, it's possible that trees could fall at a little lower wind speed than we would typically see. Now, this graphic is the earliest reasonable time of arrival. And so that's when, if you look at the range of models and the timing, this is the earliest reasonable expectation. And you can see that eastern Georgia, it's sometime late on Thursday, maybe overnight into early Friday morning, where we could start to see some impacts there in eastern Georgia. Now, this image is the most likely arrival time of tropical storm force winds. So this is looking at that big range of models and sort of coming up to a consensus on what the most likely arrival time is. And so that would be more like late Saturday afternoon, potentially, for eastern Georgia. So there is quite a difference there in timing, and that's what we continue to try to pin down as we move forward with this forecast. Now this graphic is showing the expected storm total rainfall. So this is actually a 7-day total starting today and going through next Tuesday night. You can see that there's still some extreme rainfall amounts expected as Florence sits off the North Carolina coast, upwards of 15 inches, potentially more than 20 in some areas. But as we get closer to Georgia, we're looking more at a reasonable level of or amount of rainfall that we can handle. Eastern Georgia, the official forecast for Eastern Georgia is still 2 to 4 inches. In the Northeast Georgia mountains, we could see some enhanced rainfall amounts. That's due to the topography there. Right now, the Hurricane Center and WPC have determined that 4 to 6 inch range is a good forecast range to go with, but it is possible that we could see some higher local amounts up there, even more than that 4 to 6 inch total. Right now, we are expecting the majority of the rain to occur Sunday through Monday, but it is possible, depending on the track of this remnant of Florence beyond Monday, that we could see some additional rainfall amounts out beyond that time frame. Now, this image is showing us the river ensemble forecast. So this is where the River Forecast Center has some forecast points, and what they're doing is they're taking some ensemble forecasts and providing some guidance for us. So this is not the official forecast from the RFC. This is just some guidance for us to use. Now, this is called the MMEFS. It is available publicly, and you can look at it at that website that I've listed on this slide. Now, one of the reasons why I kind of am showing this with a caveat is that this is the GFS model. And so this is one ensemble's depiction of what could happen. This doesn't fully encompass the amount of rainfall that we could be seeing over eastern Georgia. And so I want to put an asterisk there before we completely say we're going to get off scot-free and everything's going to be, no flooding everywhere. But because this is publicly available, I wanted to make sure that you knew you had access to it. And as the forecast changes, you can go back and look at this. Potentially, if we see these higher rainfall amounts in eastern Georgia, the river basins that are going to be potentially vulnerable are going to be on the east side of the state. So we're talking about the Savannah River and the Ogeechee, the upper Oconee, they're in eastern Georgia, and then up in northeast Georgia, we're going to be concerned about the Tennessee River and the upper Chattahoochee River. So that's going to be mainly upstream of Lake Lanier. And so those are going to be the areas that we would be concerned about our river flood to occur. And so again, just because we've got green dots over the state right now doesn't mean that this could not change down the road. And so please stay aware and use this as a resource if you guys have rivers in your area that you're particularly concerned about. Now, we had some good success with this image when we were dealing with subtropical storm Alberto with this sort of table format. I know a lot of you guys liked it, so we went ahead and kept it here for Hurricane Florence. You can see that today and tomorrow we're mainly going to have some warm temperatures and our typical afternoon and evening showers and thunderstorms, better coverage than we've been having the last couple of days. But we don't start to see the impacts from Florence until mainly late Saturday, Sunday, but particularly on Monday, as we start seeing more of that wind and heavy rain threat there in east and northeast Georgia. And so hopefully you guys can find this as a good resource and send it out to the teams that you're working with. But right now, that's our thinking. Any subsequent briefings that we would have, we would add additional days onto this. Okay, so in summary, there's still a lot of uncertainty regarding the track of Hurricane Florence. The models are really providing a range of solutions, and so we're still trying to pin down exactly what's going to be impacting the state and when. The forecast total rainfall amounts, we could see these increase, especially over eastern Georgia, northeast Georgia. And so if you are in that portion of the state, something that you need to stay alert to. And then the onset and duration of the hazards that we're expecting here in Georgia, that's still going to be still being adjusted as we're moving into the weekend. And again, I can't emphasize this more. Please stay alert to changes to the forecast as Florence approaches. This is not going to be the final forecast, and things are going to be adjusted as we move forward. Right now, we are anticipating our usual weekly briefing tomorrow, instead to be held at 12:30 in the afternoon. That's a tentative schedule. We will send an email out. It is going to be through GoToMeeting or GoToWebinar. This will not be our usual Join Me weekly briefing. So be advised of that. We'll send out emails and make you aware of that as we get closer. But that is the schedule for now. And as always, you can contact us through NWS chat or call us by phone if you have any specific questions. But right now, if you have any questions while we've got you on the phone, we'll go ahead and take those now. If you have muted your line on the phone, be sure to press #6 to unmute your line.